Shut your damn hole! And don't be a sore loser! Go find your food somewhere else.
Quiet now, child.
Welcome to MojoPlays. Today, we're looking at the 10 best Resident Evil Village characters.
Is that so? I assume you've picked up something of value.
Where are you going, little one?
Good. Man, screw this castle.
Who had the most interesting mutation? Let us know in the comments. And here's a warning. There will be spoilers ahead for the plot of Village.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Rosemary Winters.
It's okay, Rose. Your mother doesn't want to remember it. I can't blame her.
In the years between the events of Resident Evil 7 and Village, Ethan and Mia are doing their best to live a normal life. They've been relocated by Chris to a house in rural Eastern Europe and have had a child. That child is a baby called Rose Winters, and though she's not an active player in Village, she's integral to the story.
Don't you worry. I'll be right downstairs. Daddy won't let those weird fairy tale monsters get you.
In fact, she's pretty much the most important character in the whole game, though she spends most of it in quite a gruesome situation. Mia is back too, but doesn't play as much of a role as she did in the previous game. But she could find herself becoming the main character in a potential sequel.
Wait! You can't leave me here! You promised, damn it!
The Daughters.
Man blood.
Featured heavily in the demos and the promotional campaign, Lady Dimitrescu's 3 daughters are pretty indistinguishable from one another. Their names are Cassandra, Bella, and Daniela, and they were all created by Mother Miranda as a gift for Lady D using the Cadu parasite.
Where are you going, little one?
They're living swarms of insects able to hold a collective consciousness, making them appear human. Their inspiration could come from both Bram Stoker's Dracula, in which Dracula has 3 vampiric brides who live in his castle, or the witches in Macbeth, who brew toxic potions and deliver dangerous prophecies. Regardless, they're formidable and don't overstay their welcome. Ethan Winters.
I keep telling you, it's not Rose that I'm worried about.
Well, then what are you worried about? Look, she's gonna be fine. I just know it. What else matters?
We matter, Ethan! You matter!
He started out in the franchise as just a normal guy whose wife got caught up in bioweapon research and supposedly lost her life. But in the years since the Dulve incident of Resident Evil 7, Ethan has grown into a more interesting character.
Hey, did you say Miranda? How are you involved?
Leave it alone, Ethan. You are out of your depth.
He's been moved and given military training by Chris, which explains a lot about how well he's now able to handle guns and incredibly stressful situations. He's not really a talkative guy, so we still don't know too much about him or his life outside of getting roped into BOW plots. But would you want to talk about yourself if you had your hand cut off every 5 minutes? Probably not.
Good. Man, screw this castle.
Salvatore Moreau.
If you take it, then the others laugh at me. But if I do better than them...
What do I care?
Wait, just a little longer, please.
He might be the grossest Resident Evil character to date, and that's saying something. Moreau is the most stereotypical mutant of all, and lives on his own at his family's reservoir by the time Ethan rolls into town. Ethan upsets him so much that his mutations finally take hold fully, and he becomes an enormous fish monster. Unpleasant as Moreau is when he vomits all over you, he's an interesting character nonetheless, and, like much of the game, is inspired by literature. His name may come from H.G. Wells's The Island of Dr. Moreau, about a mad scientist who engineers human and animal hybrids, while the lore is clearly reminiscent of the fish people in H.P. Lovecraft's The Shadow over Innsmouth.
Miranda sent you to slow me down? You're pathetic.
The Duke.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winters.
How do you know my name?
Anyone who is anyone has heard of the likes of you.
He's the only true friendly face you'll see for pretty much the entirety of Village. If nothing else, you know that when you're in his room browsing his wares, you're not going to get attacked by any enemies, giving you a welcome reprieve.
It was all worthless.
Is that so? I assume you've picked up something of value.
The Duke is genuinely helpful in other ways too. He's the one who explains a lot of the lore and how the village functions to Ethan, including helping him track down Rose and the flasks. He also provides you with a vast armory, at a cost, and if you gather meat, he'll cook you permanent upgrades. And of course, he's a callback of the merchant in Resident Evil 4.
Mr. Winters, I'm afraid you can't return to your old world any longer. Are you ready?
Donna Beneviento and Angie.
Furthermore, I can assure you that you entrust the mortal to House Dimitrescu. My daughters and I will deliver to you the finest.
Way ugly! I want to see!
Everyone knows that dolls are creepy, particularly old Victorian dolls. That's what makes the level in House Beneviento so terrifying. Like Moreau, Donna is the only member of House Beneviento, which she controls through her doll Angie using the parasite that causes her mutation. She also induces and manipulates hallucinations, conjuring some of the most frightening moments in the whole game, where Ethan is left fleeing a deformed baby without any weapons. Donna's reason for staying hidden is simply that she doesn't want people to see her face, which was once scarred as a child and is now the site of her mutation.
It's over?
Chris Redfield.
Chris? What the hell?
Sorry, Ethan.
Of all Resident Evil's main characters, Chris is definitely the most enduring. He made his debut in the very first game and has been a major part of the series ever since. Now, he's back, cast in a more villainous role than we've seen him before, and there's nary a boulder to punch in sight.
I told you to leave it alone, Ethan!
It was a bold choice for Capcom to bring back the most action hero-esque Resident Evil character in history and frame him as an antagonist, seemingly killing Mia in cold blood within the first 10 minutes of the game and kidnapping Ethan's child. But suffice to say, Chris comes good in the end, leaving his heroic legacy intact.
Let's get out of here and blow the damn place.
Not before I end Miranda. I'm not taking any more chances. I'm going in.
Roger that. Standing by.
Karl Heisenberg.
Quit your whining. We're almost there.
The final lord you fight, and the first you truly encounter in the cellar of Castle Dimitrescu, Heisenberg is built up as a threat for most of the game. His factory is perhaps the most sinister level of all, as he's building himself an army of the undead enhanced with gruesome industrial components.
Together, we go save Rose, and we can use her to grind Miranda into paste.
My daughter is not a weapon.
He's also the lord who dislikes Miranda the most, and actually wants to rebel against her and her control of the village, to the extent that he tries to get Ethan on his side in taking down Miranda. It's his attempt to bargain with Ethan that makes Heisenberg an interesting villain. He's not just out to kill you, he has his own goals, and you're either with him or against him.
Your funeral.
Mother Miranda.
I've heard all your arguments. Some of you were less persuasive than others, but I've made my decision. Heisenberg, the man's fate is in your hands.
The primary antagonist, it takes Ethan a while to actually meet Mother Miranda in person and find out her true machinations. It turns out she's obsessively trying to bring back her deceased daughter Ava back from the dead, using the mold first seen in Resident Evil 7.
But I've learned all I can from you. Your worth as a lab rat has run out.
The mold actually originates from the titular village, and Mother Miranda is largely responsible for its development. She was also closely involved with Umbrella's founder, Oswell E. Spencer, and controls the entire village and the Four Lords. She's been alive for decades thanks to the mold, and in a lot of ways is the instrument of every mutation and virus in the entire series.
I've spent a lifetime creating this moment, and you try to take it away from me. I will take what is due.
Lady Dimitrescu.
Now, let's take a look at him. Well, Ethan Winters. You escaped my little brother's idiot games, did you?
Her castle is the game's primary first level, so we didn't have to wait too long to finally meet the one, the only, Lady Dimitrescu. Though not as important to the plot as other characters, she's definitely made her mark, and is going to be one of the entire franchise's most popular foes for years to come.
Oh! To hell with the ceremony! That man will pay for what he's done.
Her parasite-induced mutations have transformed her into an extraordinarily tall vampire. She's 9'6" and needs to drink human blood to survive. She's also essentially immortal, invincible, and for all her violent murders, she still exudes sophistication. That's the kind of thing that happens when you're an amalgamation of Count Dracula, the aristocratic serial killer Elizabeth Bathory, and Morticia Addams. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.